Welcome back. Until now, we have been discussing about the cooperative movement in England, and let us discuss about the movement in different parts of the world. Cooperative movement in Germany. Just like the cooperative movement in England started, the reason for the movement in England is almost the same reasons were also existed in Germany. The cooperative movement in Germany was started in the middle of 19th century. The economic conditions of the Germany, both in rural as well as in urban areas, were so pathetic and disheartening. The conditions of the working class as well as the poor were very miserable. The agriculturists and the artisans were in the grip of money lenders, mostly Jews. Jews were the richest class in Germany, and they were exploiting and manipulating the poor and weaker sections in Germany. Famines were a common phenomenon. The Jews ruled over the market, and they themselves were the money lenders, traders of consumer articles, and buyers of agricultural producers, and ultimately exploited the every weaker sections of the society. So there was a need for an immediate action to protect the miserable condition of the weaker section. So in order to save the people from the miserable condition, certain social reformers came to rescue them and formed organizations based on equity and equality that finally result in the beginning of cooperative movement in Germany. The Germany was the first country in the world which applied the principles of cooperation to form credit cooperatives. Unlike in England, mostly the societies run in England was consumer societies and another form of societies, but in Germany it was credit societies, because the main reason for the suffering of the poor sections of the Germany was due to the lack of finance. So there was a need for cooperative societies that was based on credit. That led to the implementation of credit cooperatives in Germany as well as for the first time all around the world. That is why Germany is known as the cradle of credit cooperatives. The felt need of the people in the Germany was an agency of providing cheap credit and not for consumer articles as in the case of England, because they were under the exploitation of Jews, and the antisocial activities of the moneylenders made the life of the poor more miserable. It was during such conditions that Herr F.W. Robinson and Herr Franz Schulze came to the rescue the people with their own organization. So these two cooperators were called the pioneers of credit cooperative societies, not only in Germany but also they paved way for the implementation of credit societies all over the world. So let us discuss in detail about Herr Franz Schulze. He was born in 1890 and died in 1883. He was born in Delitzsch. By profession, he was a judge in his native city of Delitzsch. Later, he was elected mayor of the Delitzsch. On seeing the miserable condition of the people in 1849, he, together with his friend Dr. Bernhardi, organized a friendly society for providing relief in their sickness. In the same year, he established an association of shoemakers for the purchase of raw materials, but soon he realized that the urgent need of people was actually credit. And it was not only credit, it was cheap credit. So in 1850, he founded a credit association with the funds provided by those who are rich. Schulze was well aware of the situation and realized that unless people try to stand on their own legs in an organized manner through self-help and mutual help, then only they can survive in this harsh situation. Therefore, he insisted that no one could get loan from the association unless they become its member. In 1852, schools found a society at Delitzsch on the basis of cooperative principles. The capital required for the society was obtained through the sale of shares, and in 1856 he published a book which contained the principles of banking as formulated by him. Through the book and otherwise he gave wide publicity and propaganda, and he got immediate results for his efforts. The number of banks started by him had increased rapidly, and they were known as People's Bank. So he was the pioneer of the implementation of credit society not only in Germany but also all around the world. And his success was due to many factors. So let us go into the various factors that led to the success of Franz Schulze movement. Important features of Schulze Delitzsch societies. First one, the objective of the society. The main objective of Schulze Delitzsch societies were to meet the credit requirements of its members like traders, artisans and middle class people residing in urban areas. Next one, wide area of operation. The area of operation of bank was very wide. The number of members were very large, which has increased into thousands. As membership was derived from a wide circle of population, there was no personal relationship and mutual contact among them, which helps in raising more funds. Limited liability. When the area of operation is wide, it is impossible to have personal contacts among members. As unlimited liability requires personal relationship among members, the liability of Schulze Bank was adopted as limited. That was a great advantage for the success of the bank. Shares of higher value. Schulze was of opinion that the bank should be a self-supporting institution with sufficient share capital. So the value of shares are fixed very high, which could be paid in installments. High value of shares offer security to depositors, brought in adequate working capital, which ultimately encouraged thrift among the members. Because lack of capital and lack of savings was the main issue for the failure of other societies. Easy admission of members. Membership was available to those who can afford to pay the share capital. Preference to urban people. Membership was only given to urban people consisting of different classes of artisans, traders and middle class people who had no personal touch or relationship. No strict supervision of loans. Generally, loans are issued for productive purposes, but as the area of operation is wide, it was not possible to supervise the utilization of loans, so it helps in the quick providing of loans and credit to the poor. Banks prefer short-term loans. As the deposits are collected mainly for short duration, loans and advances are also for short periods, not exceeding 1 year. Loan should be repaid in lump sum and the rate of interest is very high, which helps in recouping the loans and no more bad debts. Allowed dividend. A higher rate of dividend was allowed to shareholders without fixing any ceiling. Since the dividend was high, the shareholders were willing to pay the high price for the shares. No priority for welfare of members. No special priority was given to the moral development or material welfare of the members. In here, it was a democratic system and everyone was equal. Elected but paid directors. General body would elect a managing committee and a council of supervisors, and they are paid less remuneration for their services. The regular officers also are maintained with permanent paid staff. Schulze had no faith in honorary services, because honorary services will ultimately lead to issues and corruption. Final authority. The final authority is vested with the general body, which elect a board of management for administration. They will be controlling the entire operations of the banks. No permanent reserve fund. There was no permanent reserve fund because a reserve was, however, created by appropriating a small percentage of net profit. It usually the reserve set aside will be 15 to 20% of net profit. Since there was a transfer of that much amount from net profit, there was no permanent reserve fund within the business. So this helps in retaining as well as distribution within the bank. So these were the reasons or characteristic features of the Schulze Delitzsch societies, and we will be discussing about some more points under the same category. Next one, received deposits. Deposits were received from members and non-members, but the rate of interest on deposits are not high. And finally, administration. Technical operations of the bank were conducted by highly paid and highly qualified officers. There were 3 members in the board of management, and every transaction could be finalized only when 2 of them signed the documents. Thereby helps it removing unnecessary cash inflows as well as outflows within the bank. So these are the major features of Schulze Delitzsch society. We will be discussing about the next categories under the same pattern regarding the movement of cooperative in Germany in the next session.